Initially it was just the love of my mother's voice as a child, and she would recite poems, impromptu, in any situation or space in the kitchen or just walking around. She will kind of stop and do kind of a Latin American style declamación, kind of moving her arms across the sky, and then she kind of break away and do what she was doing. And she was kind of passionate about poetry, and then we'd go along our way. And then later, when I was working on becoming a speaker, because I felt I couldn't speak and I didn't know how to speak, and it was always an issue, language and speaking. So I think it's the first time I put those two together right now. Language and speaking and having a voice, those three, actually three, were always I was always wondering about them. Well, how do they speak so easily? I would look at a group of students or someone, and they were having a great conversation. I said, how do they do it? How do they come up to each other and just start talking? So in the late 60s then, with the civil rights movement, it was a perfect moment and environment for me at UCLA to start casting out my voice. And that's when poetry came alive for me, because I found that poetry then was the voice that I wanted and I loved, and it was filled with art and experiment and with audience and community. So that's where it began. We have many languages and dialects in the United States. We have many dialects in English as well. So, and that was part of the whole idea of unlocking, unleashing, and liberating our voices and dialects in the United States, was part of our civil rights kind of experiment. The wave, the tremors and quakes of the civil rights movement, and created this interest and curiosity about our voice and our voices, our many voices, and in many ways and languages. So that happened in the Chicano movement, as you say, and the Black Power movement, the women's movement, elemental feminism, where new words were created and turned around, his, her, chairman, chairperson, all that, and then elemental language, kind of magic language that women really began to explore. And I think all of us explored that, but I think the women's movement was really innovative in that manner. So that's why I began to write in a bilingual fashion. I had been keeping all that in the background. You suppress that if there's in an English-only cultural grid.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Chicano movement, the civil rights movement, was wonderful. And I said, oh yeah, puedo hablar en English and español at the same time, todos los días, every day. And it was fun also doing that. It's also fun. It's a great feeling to splash new paints on the wall, not just one or two colors, but many colors. So that's the same feeling when you're writing in many voices that you already have, and more that you can acquire. It's not just about having one or two languages. All that is available. All that is always available. Who said we have to just continue the one or two languages we speak? We can always add and add and add and add and add until until we become birds. And we're flying in the sky and learn bird language. So it's all available. It's not just kind of a strict, structured, culturally bound world of those that speak Spanish, those that speak English, and those that are bilingual, well, good for them, but they probably will speak it at home only because it's not available. That access is not available in our social institutions, mostly. But that's just kind of the day-to-day society we live in. We can also recreate our society so that we have many languages for everybody, in the schools and everywhere, on the walls and in the media.